there, Unmuted with Marsha audience. So we are so happy that you're joining us again today with our special guest, Cynthia Monteleone. And I am thrilled to have her with us. She is a Team USA World Masters track athlete. Her specialty is the 400 meter. And I think that what she has accomplished is absolutely amazing. And she's had some interesting experiences along the way. And Cynthia, I want to start with you talking a little bit about the 2019 World Championship when you competed against a transgender athlete in an all-women's event.
Yes, aloha, and thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak to your audience. I am, like you said, a World Masters champion, and I'm a metabolic practitioner, so my specialty is optimizing health and athletic performance. So I know my way around female bodies and even male bodies for my clients. I work with Olympians, professional athletes, and also patients that my doctor sends me when he can't figure out what's wrong with them. So a little bit of background for you, for your audience on, how I know the science of biology, we'll just say. Yes, what happened was I had trained so hard for this track meet, which was the World Championships in Malaga, Spain. And if you are an athlete or you've had any athletic experience, or you've even worked out at the gym, you know what kind of dedication and sacrifice it takes to complete your goals. And as an athlete trying to be the best in the world, I sacrifice time with my family. I train so hard that I can't stand up, like I do all the things to make sure that I'm a champion. And words can't describe how I felt walking up to that starting line in Spain next to a biological male bodied athlete who I know did not have to work that hard. It was like a psychological trauma. Like, what did I just do all this for? If someone who doesn't have to work as hard can just stand next to me on the starting line. So, where are the mental health questions raised for our female athletes that have to go through this?
Well, let me ask you this. How did the Team USA administrators respond to this?
That's a great question. I started off by speaking up to all of the officials on the track and around the track, like, why is there a male-bodied athlete in my heat? And you know what? The European officials were actually very sympathetic, and they stopped the meet. They conferred with one another, and they said, you have to bring this up with your Team USA manager. It's too late. You have to race against this individual. And so I did. Immediately after the race, I went to my team managers for Team USA Track and Field. And, they told me, for your own safety, you should probably keep your mouth shut. But you know what? I am not keeping my mouth shut still a couple of years later, because I don't believe in keeping quiet about something that is so grossly unfair. And so I stand up for not only myself, but for my daughter and for all female athletes.
And you mentioned your daughter, and I had the opportunity to meet both you and your daughter recently in DC, and really enjoyed that and really enjoyed listening to them. Now, your daughter is also a high school athlete, correct?
Yes, she is a high school athlete. She's a junior now. She had her very first track meet in 9th grade as a freshman, right before COVID shut everything down. We haven't had sports since then. This coming season will be her first high school track season since COVID shut everything down. And so she had one track meet so far, and she trained all year for her track meet. And guess what? She had the same experience. She had to line up for her very first race after training all year against a biological male who had just transferred from the men's volleyball or the boys volleyball team to the girls volleyball team the season before, and now was trying to be a track athlete, had only practiced track 2 weeks. And we have a video clip, but basically, blew everybody away in the first 100 meters. So she came in second in her first high school race. And what's at stake are things that are important, like money, prize money, scholarships, awards, but it's also that feeling of you worked hard and she deserved to win her very first high school race. She put in the work, but she had no chance because of the biological advantage of this male-bodied athlete.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things that has been so interesting to me, the left has really made a push to make sports woke and to disadvantage women and girls in sports. And so why is it so important that women and girls stand together in fairness for women and girls to compete in sporting events?
Well, you know, Senator, it's not too long ago that we were told, about 20 years ago at the birth of Title IX, that we were told that we couldn't even run cross country or track because our uteruses would fall out. I mean, this is how far we've come and how important Title IX was. And it's a shame that the current administration is ripping Title IX apart, and it's going to take away that opportunity for females. And so we must stand together. We must speak up. One word that you can go to always is brave. Think about the word brave and think about how all of the female leaders before us had the courage to be brave and to speak up. You know, so it's very important that we continue to work together. This is not a partisan issue. If you look at all of the polls, both left and right constituents agree that this is unfair and this should not happen. So really the leadership on the left is doing a great disservice and injustice to their constituents.
Well, and you mentioned Title IX, and for our audience that is watching, that is a part of federal law and that allows for women to have sports in which they can compete and win. And it really opened the door for a lot of those educational opportunities and scholarships that you mentioned earlier, so that women have the opportunity to be able to compete in those high school and college athletic competitions and to be rewarded for excellence in those fields.
That's right. And I think what we're seeing recently with the UPenn swimmer now breaking all of the records is just a case in point of something that we have all warned about for the past couple of years when I did start speaking up against the advice of USA Track and Field. And so, you know, that type of thing is happening because we're going to see more and more decent male-bodied athletes or good male-bodied athletes competing. I think previously we've seen only maybe average or below average male-bodied athletes competing, or they haven't, you know, been that talented. And so the playing field wasn't quite as disparate, you know, the disparity wasn't quite there, but now we're going to be seeing more and more because we've warned of this. This is the end of female sports. And unfortunately, the current administration is putting a nail in the coffin.
And I think that's important. I hear from moms who are very concerned about this because their daughters have played soccer or softball or tennis or golf, or they're swimmers, or they're running track. And their goal has been to get that college scholarship and be able to compete in college, work their way through school with their sport. And now moms are saying, we've been paying for lessons and training and going to competitions and travel teams. And now we may be blocked by male athletes who are declaring as female and competing against our daughters.
Yes, you know, let's have compassion for everyone, but inclusion means including female-bodied athletes and their how they deserve awards. Like, let's now, with the policies that are being given, they're excluding female athletes, biological females. And so those moms are totally right. I am in the same boat. My daughter also has been working since she was 11 towards a college scholarship. That is her dream. That's what got me inspired to start running again, actually. And so these moms need to go ahead and write their senators, write letters to the papers. The girls need to speak up amongst their peers and not be bullied by this woke society that is pushing these absurd rules. And so I would just encourage all females to stand up again, think about that word brave, have that courage, and, you know, really just focus on what's at stake for the future, because let's be honest, college coaches are paid to win. And the NCAA should recognize that more than anyone. And their policy is wrong. It's faulty at the very least. And so the bottom line, what's the policy? What should the policy be? I'm not the policymaker, but the bottom line is that female-bodied athletes deserve their chance for accolades and awards and scholarships. And male-bodied athletes do not belong in the same category as female-bodied athletes.
Well, thank you so much for your time today and to cover this issue. And our audience can keep up with you at Fast Over 40. That's where they're going to find you on social media. Cynthia, thank you so much for joining us today on Unmuted with Marsha.